Greetings, games pickers. This is the top 10 selling games of 1984. I recently stumbled across a list in Personal Computer News giving the top 30 selling games from 1984. Today, I'm just going to look at the top 10, but to give you an idea, we've got The Hobbit at number 26, Ghostbusters at number 20, Elite, only released at that time on the BBC Micro, at number 16, and thankfully, Flight Path 737 by Anirog is at number 11, so I don't have to cover it today. Released on every system under the sun, which is probably why it got to number 11, despite the fact it's terrible. Mind you, it apparently was one of the first flight simulators on most systems at the time. But as I say, we're going to look at the top 10 selling games from 1984. And at number 10, we have Full Throttle by Micromega. And yes, that's Mervyn Escort, the coder of the game, who gave us 3D Death Chase, officially the best Spectrum game of all time. Full Throttle is a motorcycle racing game, a flickery one at that. Reminds you a bit of 3D Death Chase with the sound effects. You race against 40 other bikes. And there are 10 circuits you can choose from, including Donington, Germany, Belgium, Yugoslavia, Sweden and Silverstone. Didn't know Silverstone was a country. Anyway, here we are in France. And I am in position 40, right at the back. And yes, the other bikes do disappear when they're against the green. And yes, they do flicker. Remember, this isn't the 10 best games of 1984. It's the 10 best selling. The game was only released on the Specky, and a game that's pretty much forgotten about now. Number 9, Match Point by Scion. Probably the first competently done tennis game. I'm at the bottom there, and yes, the legs of the players are quite something as they move along. It's quite slow, but on the other hand, it gives you a chance of playing the game. One of my criticisms of later tennis games is they're too fast. On the Specky, it's a little bit quicker. And there are nice touches like ball boys. And at this time, the game was only out on Spectrum and C64. Later came out on the Amstrad CPC. The versions of games I'm featuring today will only be the versions released at the time. So if a game came out later, we won't be showing it. At number 8, Fighter Pilot by Digital Integration. At this time, only out on the Spectrum and C64. And we're going to start on the Specky. You get lots of options like landing practice and flying training. So you can go and land your jet fighter badly or just crash it. Fighter Pilot's always a game that I felt is a little bit empty. And you only ever see the enemy planes from miles and miles away. It's something Digital Integration fix with Tomahawk, where it's not an empty game, there's a lot more going on. Number 7, it's our first imported game. It's Beachhead, at this time only on the Spectrum and C64, at least according to Personal Computer News. And this is the 64 version. You can, of course, take the shortcut at the beginning of the game to make your way to the battle by driving your boats across a minefield, which will end badly. Actually, once you get the hang of it, it's dead easy. The second level, it sees you gunning down planes, hurtling towards you. And then you'll have to sink the boats that you can see in front of you. On the Specky. And then you get to the tank level, which I think is the most fun. When I was a small child, it took me ages to get this far. It was so exciting. I don't know why there's all those speed cameras in the tank zone, but never mind, the purple speed cameras there. And the final bit sees you trying to defeat the giant tank on a rock, all fought by lobbing bombs into the holes before the giant turret comes around and shoots you to death. Number 6, of course, an Ultimate game is going to feature, and it's Sabre Wulf. And here we are on the BBC Micro. Spectrum and the BBC being the only versions released in 1984, or at least feature in this chart. You have to find the 4 pieces of the amulet thing. Who knows what it is? I can't remember. Anyway, it's Sabre Wulf. You know Sabre Wulf, right? Speaking of games you know all of these. Football Manager is at number 5. Available on every system under the sun. This is the specky version, the original, written in BASIC. Football Manager came out on every system under the sun. At this time, it's out on the specky C64 and BBC Micro, but eventually it'll be available on everything. Also available on the ZX81, but it's not listed here as that. The BBC Micro version has some interesting graphics and some interesting glitches with the cursor on the left-hand side of the screen. It's Football Manager. It's not about the graphics, it's not about the speed of it, it's about managing a football team, being the first one to do it, and the most influential, probably. At number 4, Hunchback, which is available on every system under the sun. It's the only game in the top 10 that's currently available this time on the Amstrad, apparently. And this is the specky version, but it's also available on C64, BBC Micro and VIC-20. And being across so many systems, of course, benefits it being in this top 10, because more systems, more sales, right? This is the C64 version. There will also shortly be Amstrad versions. MSX is 86, I think. And there's a VIC-20 version, which is, the rope, it goes like that. But it's the first proper big arcade conversion, isn't it? Officially done, not an unofficial knockoff. And how many unofficial Hunchback versions are there? Well, Punchy springs to mind. Number 3, here we are on the C64 with Manic Miner. Available on the Specky C64, BBC Micro, Amstrad CPC and MSX. The only games available on the CPC and MSX in the top 10 at this time. And there's an Auric version. Look, it's the first time the Auric has been featured on ChinnyVision. Unless the system review came out before this. Incidentally, I'm featuring the Auric version now. It's not listed on this list I've got here, but they may have run out of space because there's so many formats the game was released on. It's Manic Miner. You know all about Manic Miner. Go through the rooms, collect the objects. A game often copied, but rarely bettered. Now you're thinking, where does Jet Set Willy feature in this top 10? Well, it's at number 2, one place above Manic Miner. It's the same deal, but you get to go from room to room. It's a much, much bigger game. At the time of this shot was released, only available on the Spectrum and C64, but of course, shortly available on everything, including machines like, look, this is the BBC Micro version, because I captured it before I realised I wouldn't be using the footage, so you're getting it anyway. This is the 64 version. And I've always found the 64 version a bit odd because they decided to improve the game by changing the stairs, which I don't like. And of course this gets carried on through to things like the C16 version and the terrible but later fixed Atari 8-bit version. So number 1, of course, it's Decathlon. And that's Daley Thompson, apparently. It's Daley Thompson's Decathlon, which is a Decathlon from Activision rip-off, a track and field rip-off. And it's waggle the joystick until it breaks, and until, when you've been playing this, you wake up at 4 a.m. with an arm that hurts so much you have to take ibuprofen. I don't know who that happened to while recording this footage. No idea. I've never got on with Decathlon. It's just too hard to waggle the stick. Look, I'm using a cheat on the 64 version. Doesn't Daley Thompson look squat and rather like a NES sprite there? So that was our top 10 best-selling games of 1984. In at 10, Full Throttle. Number 9, Matchpoint. 8, Fighter Pilot. At number 7, It's Beachhead. 6, Sabre Wulf. In at 5, Football Manager. Ocean Bringers Hunchback at number 4. The first of the Minor Willy games in at number 3, Manic Miner. Its sequel, Jet Set Willy, number 2. And at number 1, it's Daley Thompson's Decathlon. So a few surprises in that top 10. Full Throttle surprised me, a game I'd never even played. And of course you're going to have the Manic Miner games, of course you're going to have Hunchback, and of course you're going to have at least one ultimate game. So thanks for watching. Remember, ChinnyVision comes up every Thursday evening. We use real hardware on this channel. Hope you noticed that when watching this. I'll see you soon.